的讲者黄特感先生。
Hi, so 你们都听得懂英文吗？还是有人有问题？
都学过英文。
都好，比较容易。好，Hi, so my name is Juan Fernando Herrera Ramos. Everyone calls me Fernando. Actually, like I want to start by saying something that is kind of funny because I noticed that in the poster it said Herrera Ramos Juan Fernando. That's because like in Taiwan, your first like character, right, is your last name, and then it's your name. But actually, for us, it's the other way around. So actually, my name is Juan Fernando, and Herrera Ramos are like my given names, my family names, and that's something that I realized when I got here to Taiwan. Today, I came here because I was invited to. Oh, let me take this off. So I came here because I was invited to talk about basically my experience as a student abroad, traveling around and some of the things that I've seen, and also about the things that I've been doing in Taiwan. And since you're all university students, I hope that some of the things that I say here can help you in the future. I didn't know if I needed to give this warning or not, but I might cry a bit because some of the things that I'm going to talk about are things that are very sad or very personal to me. So sorry about that in advance. I'm going to start a little bit by telling you what I'm doing now. First, I am the senior project manager at Solomon Technology Corporation. This is a company that works with artificial intelligence and robotics, and it has offices in around 12 countries. I'm also the general coordinator at Scholarships for Honduras, which is basically an NGO in which we provide information to Hondurans so that they can travel to many countries around the world with scholarships. So we promote the scholarships that Taiwan offer. We promote scholarships to Japan, to Russia, to many countries that have opportunities that people like me can take advantage of. I'm also a journalist. I write for the Taipei Times and Ketagalan Media, and I also write for some newspapers back in Honduras. And I am the World Cup Taiwan organizer, which is the reason why I invited here, which is basically the biggest international soccer tournament in Taiwan. I think I can brag about that because I've never seen anything as big as that. This is the company that I work for. Basically, they have been in the industry for around 50 years. It's in the stock Taiwanese market. They have offices in around 12 countries worldwide. And basically, like I mentioned, they're working with system that helps robots to identify objects. So if you train the software that we have, basically it can recognize each of your faces and put a name on it after it has been trained. It's very advanced technology and it's a great company to work for. As I mentioned before, I am coordinator at Scholarship for Honduras. And basically, when I go to Honduras, which I've only done it once since I came to Taiwan in 2015, but basically we go around universities giving similar speeches to the one that I'm giving right now. But what we do is that we try to focus on the fact that there are many, many opportunities to study abroad. And there are many organizations that offer scholarships, which is something that maybe some of you will take advantage after you graduate if you want to study a master's or if you want to later get a PhD. There are universities, there are organizations worldwide that offer international scholarships that give these opportunities so that they can bring more international students to their universities because, well, one of the reasons is because that increases their ranking. It's good for them to have international students, and it's also because they understand how important it is to be multicultural, to be able to understand other cultures, and especially now when we're working we live in the globalization era. And we can take a plane and be on the other side of the world within 24 hours. And where remote working is becoming more and more common. So maybe some of you will work for companies that are located in the United States or in Europe or Africa. and you're gonna be working with multicultural teams. Maybe like in that location, or maybe just through Zoom. But it's gonna be very important to understand what multiculturalism is, because believe it or not, even though we're all the same, because like that's one of the things that I learned when I came to Taiwan, that we're all the same, we're also very different, and there are many things that we need to learn to differentiate and to respect about each other. So basically, in this scholarship for Hondurans, what we do is, as well, is like we provide information about like what is the procedure to apply for scholarships. We guide them to the process. We also, if they have a motivation letter that they need us to check, then we will also try to improve it, because that's one of like the most important parts that like a scholarship application has. So we try to provide them with different resources as well. Sometimes what we like to do is that we interview other Hondurans, because like believe it or not, like I come from a very different place. Obviously, we barely have any foreigners. Like for us to see a foreigner is like super super rare, and if we do, mostly like they are from the United States. So we can tell that they are from the United States. But other than that, like we don't really have like international classmates. I've never had like an international classmate, for example, while I was studying in Honduras. So my country is not precisely what you will call safe. So there's not a lot of foreigners that come to study there, and also it's very different. Like the quality of the education is not like it's not precisely high class. So there are many reasons why people don't come, and that's the reason why so many Hondurans try to get out, and so many Hondurans like look for this kind of opportunities, scholarship opportunities, so that they can come to countries like Taiwan, like Japan, like basically everywhere where you can try to secure a better education and a better future. So that's kind of like one of the volunteers that I do to try to help more Hondurans, get a better life. I'm also an international journalist. Basically, like I mentioned, I work for Taipei Times. I don't remember the name in Chinese, but basically, like it's one of the biggest newspapers here in Taiwan, and one of the only one I think that has like a printed English version. And I also write for Keragalan Media, which is an online media. And I also write for some newspapers in Honduras, like La Tribuna, which is kind of like the biggest newspaper there. And most of the things that I write about, politics especially, I am very passionate about politics. I like Taiwan politics a lot. And I find super interesting the situation with China and everything that can happen with this country, because for me, Taiwan is my second home. It really changed my life to come here, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I was given through a Taiwan ICDF scholarship. So if I have the chance, I try to talk about it like in international newspapers, like whether here, whether at home, to try to give a little bit of perspective about what the situation here in Taiwan is, because like this is not something that is just specific to Taiwan. I think that a lot of people don't really care about geography or politics. So there's a lot of people that don't know the difference between Taiwan and China. And probably if I ask many of you what is the difference between Taiwan and Guatemala, you're not going to be able to tell me either. And I think that it's kind of like these are important topics, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, like we are all one world. We're all like we're all the same. But there are differences, and it's important to understand those differences, to be able to succeed in such a globalized world. Besides that, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this later, but I am the World Cup Taiwan organizer. As I mentioned before, this is a soccer tournament that gathers 18 teams from last year. We had 13 countries. And it's basically like this giant like football festival. We also have like a food vendor area, so we also have like food from all over the world. Last year we had like 18 vendors. We have performers, which is like we invite people, who like to dance, who like to sing, who are artists, to also be part of the tournament. And it's also a diplomatic festival. Last year we invited the 16 representatives of like embassies and diplomatic offices, and they form a soccer team and they play against the Ministry of Foreign Affairs teams. And it was kind of like it's very fun. It was also very scary because I didn't want an ambassador to break a leg. And but like at the end of the day, like it was very interesting for them, and I think it also helped them to strengthen the relationship with each other, because many times like ambassadors meet only when there is like this big diplomatic ceremony, and they're all dressed up and they just like say hi to each other and they talk a little bit. But in this event that we had, they were running, they were sweating, they were like cheering for each other. And I think that it's kind of like it's a good opportunity for Taiwan to also foster that relationship, that diplomatic relationship that they have, between like ambassadors, between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This event it started actually like in 2014. I'm gonna talk a little bit more in detail about it, and well, we're about to celebrate almost 10 years of it next year, which is something that makes me really happy. It wasn't started by me. It was started by another Honduran, a friend of mine, who already went back to Honduras. But this is one of the few, I would say, international events that can bring so many communities together, so many international communities together. Because like we all know that there's a lot of foreigners, but even for me, it was a surprise when countries like Italy, they get together and they form a team. I've never seen so many Italians together in Taiwan in my life. And, countries like Brazil, I didn't know that we had so many Brazilians. French people, like, it's very special to me because, like, I feel that this is an event that it is about sports, of course. It is about soccer, it is about competition. But it's also about like building communities, because like if you ever go abroad, you are going to understand what it is to feel alone, even if you're surrounded by people. And in those scenarios, you usually look for people that that look like you or that come from the same place that you. And this is an event that gives people that space. That's one of the reasons why I have kept organizing it. I'm going to talk to you a bit about my timeline. Like basically, I graduated from law school. My diploma is actually like law. I'm a lawyer. In 2013 in Honduras. In 2015, I got a Taiwan ICDF scholarship, and I came to study National Taiwan University, and I got a master's in business administration from the International Human Resources Development Program. In 2016, I went to the World Youth Conference in India. I went there, I was representing the Honduran Association in Taiwan, and I'm going to tell you more about that because really this is kind of like, I will say, the biggest like incident, like something that marked my life, something that changed my life for good. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. In 2019, I became the main organizer of the World Cup Taiwan, and I will tell you why and how as well. And in 2020, I started working for like the company that I'm working right now, and basically like I was just promoted to senior project manager after 2 years of working there. First, I want to talk to you about a little bit about like Honduran cultures, just so that you have an idea of like what are we like. Actually, I don't know if you know many Latin Americans, but like we're pretty crazy, and like we like to make jokes, we like to dance a lot, we love soccer, but Latin America actually is like a very wide, a culture. Like even within Honduras, we have many kind of people. In the first picture, we have like something that is called Garifuna. This is like a tribe, which is basically people that the Spaniards brought like as slaves in the 1500s, and of course like they remained there like once that we gain independence, and they have like a very lively culture. They like it is very similar to African cultures. They you know they also like that, like the drums. They like to dance. They have to wear like flamboyant colors. We also have something that is more kind of like a mix of like the Aboriginals that we had and the Spaniards, because of course there was a mix after they conquered us. Like there was a mix of cultures, so that's kind of like the second picture. And we also have our own like traditional dances. We also have like a culture that is very much our own. That is not Aboriginal and it's not Spaniard. It's something that it's like a mix that was created. On the third picture, this is actually what our Aboriginal people look like. Actually, Honduras has like 18 groups, 18 Aboriginal groups. I've heard that Taiwan also has like many of them. And actually, this is one of the things that surprised me about traveling to Taiwan. When I went to Sun Moon Lake for the first time, I remember that there was they had this like exhibition of like Aboriginal people, and they were like playing some like traditional instruments, and I was just mesmerized by how much they look like our Aboriginal people, like the brown skin and like the eyes. I was very shocked because like you hear about the whole thing of like that people cross from Asia into Latin America, but like usually when you think of Asian people, you think of what mainly like Chinese people or Japanese people. So when I actually saw this like Aboriginal people here in Taiwan, it kind of like it made me feel something that like we're more connected than what we think, and that again this is something that I'm gonna say a lot during these speeches, that we're not so different. And really, like if you bring one of these people that was like doing this ceremony in Sun Moon Lake, and you put it in front of like one of our Aboriginal people, I couldn't tell which one is from Honduras and which one is from Taiwan. So I just wanted to mention that story. Also, the last one is basically like a representation of religion. Honduras is a super religious country. We have a lot of churches. We believe in saints. People pray a lot to God. I'm not religious, and a lot of my family is not happy about that because we are a lot about traditions. I think that we share that with Taiwanese people too. We care a lot about like family, the unity in the family, and most families are religious. So not being religious has caused me like quite a few problems. I want to talk to you a bit about like what was my life in Honduras. These are some pictures that I got. Like the quality is not good because most of them are really old. But the first one is like basically my gang of friends when I don't even remember how old I was. I probably was like 16 or 15 years old at that time. The second one is like a picture of some of my cousins. In Honduras, we have very big families, like very big. So like I have like 10, 12 aunts and uncles, and they all have like 3 kids each. So I have like, I don't know, like 30 cousins. So like family gatherings is like, like you have to put us like in a park or something because we're just so many. And that's like something that is very traditional for Honduran families, kind of to be very big. The last picture is a picture that I took when I went back in 2017. Since I came to Taiwan, I've only been able to go to Honduras once. And when I was planning to go, then the pandemic started, and I got stuck here, and I couldn't go back. Yeah, basically, like my life in Honduras wasn't as harsh as others. I came from a middle life family. I wasn't raised by my mom. I was raised by my aunts. So basically, my family comes from the countryside. But like I cannot even compare anything like that looks like that here in Taiwan. Maybe Chai. I haven't been to Chai, but if anything, something like that. Like they didn't have electricity when they were growing up. Like the town that my family comes from, the first time that we used electricity, it was like when I was like 7 years old. So I was taken by one of my aunts to live in the city. My mom stayed behind, and basically she was the one who take care of me. Like she raised me as her kid. She's the one like, well, her. The first one, like, she's basically my mom. Like, I see her as my mom. The guy next to me is my brother. And actually, like, I think that I had good opportunities. I'm not gonna come here and say that my life was the toughest in Honduras, because the truth is that I've seen so much worse in the place that I come from. I went to private schools. I had everything that I needed. I had a roof. I had food. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm especially very thankful for my aunt. Her name is Rosalba, because like I don't know what I would be doing if she didn't take care of me, but I wouldn't be here. That's for sure. Um, this is basically when I graduated from law school, and I started working. This was 2013 when I graduated, and I was super happy. Like, I thought that I had my life made. I thought that I was gonna get like a super good job, and actually I've always been very hardworking, which is something that it's gonna sound conflictive, because I wasn't like, I'm gonna say something that my aunt doesn't like me to talk about, but I was a terrible student. I wasn't a straight A student when I was like in high school. I got into a lot of trouble. I used to fight a lot. I wasn't like anything like what my family expected me to be. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with I wanted to be the center of attention. I guess I feel that I felt that I was lacking that, because I didn't live with my mom. I didn't live with my dad. So in a way, I think that I was just like trying to act up, but somehow I always like believed that I had to repay to show my aunt that I was grateful. So I always tried to pass my classes, try to stay out of trouble at the most that I could, or at least make sure that she wouldn't find out. And eventually, like, I graduated like from law school, and I started working in this international company, which was very good. It was a very good job, like, and that's something like that doesn't happen to everyone, because actually in Honduras, job opportunities are super scarce. You can barely find jobs. Like, I have friends that graduated from college, and then they were looking for jobs for like 2 years before they could find one. And usually it's not a good job. Most of the times it's not a job related to what you studied. So you just end up working like in call centers or places that have nothing to do with the thing that you spent 4 years studying and that you got a diploma for. So it was kind of like I was very lucky, I would say. Also, of course I worked very hard for it. I did an internship when I was like finishing my university, which is something that I advise to all of you. Always try to take advantage of your time. Try to learn a language. Try to do an internship if you have the chance, because all of this experience is gonna be very good for the moment when you're actually looking for a job, which is going to feed you in the future. So while I was doing that internship, I worked really hard on it, and the company that I was doing on it offered me that job. And at that moment, I thought that I had made it. I thought that my life was done, and that I was gonna work in that company for a lot of money, and that I was gonna stay there for many many years. But reality tends to be a little more cruel than that, especially like in the places that like Honduras. So what happened was that I have ADHD, which is attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. So basically, most of the people associate being ADHD with being very loud, or being very talkative, or having to move around a lot, which are all true. These are all things that that happened to me, but it's more than that. It's problem to focus sometimes. It's also getting distracted very easily and almost get hit by a car. It's also depression. It's also anxiety. It's also being misunderstood by the people around you. So since I was very young, like, I was always like kind of like bullied because I was different. I didn't really like, this sounds ironic, but I didn't really like soccer that much. I didn't really like sports. I would rather go to the library and read books, or I've always been a huge fan of like Japanese animation. So I always rather those things. And because of that, I was bullied a lot, and I was beaten when I was a kid, and that's also one of the reasons why I got into so many fights, because I had to defend myself. And like I said, it's not like I had the hardest childhood in the world. I'm not gonna say that, not at all. But it wasn't all, like rainbows and butterflies. And what happened was that I when I was doing the test, when I was doing the interview process to become a permanent employee in this company, these things came out in the psychological test. And basically, the company was told that I had ADHD and that I had some problems with depression and anxiety. And unfortunately, in Honduras, there's a lot of stigma around this. So basically, the guy who they had as head of human resources at that time, he basically thought that I was crazy and that I had some mental problems and that one day I was gonna kill somebody. And that was the reason why they didn't hire me at that company. And at that moment, like I remember that I cried a lot because I couldn't understand it. Cause mostly it's because like I didn't know that I had it. Like people told me before, oh yeah, you look like hyperactive, but I didn't know that I was diagnosed until that moment. And then I came home and I started talking to my aunt and I told her like they said this and that, and she told me that she always knew. She knew since I was like 4 years old because they had already done those tests. And what they told my aunt is that the best thing that she could do was to put me on medicine. But she didn't want to do that because she thought that I was like a very creative person and a very like happy child. And she thought that if she will, put me on medicines, then it will take that away from me. So she just didn't do it. And in a way, I'm thankful for it. I'm not saying that meds are bad. I have taken them when I need them, to keep me then cool, especially when I'm like very stressed. But it was really hard at that moment because like I was coming from just like graduating, getting an amazing job, and then everything was just like a slap in my face, and it was because not because I did something bad, or not because I couldn't do the job. It was just because I was different and I had this mental condition, and that basically changed everything. That's also one of the reasons why probably I'm here, because after that, like, of course I was like sad for like 2 weeks, but then like I had to get on because I didn't want to I didn't want my parents, my aunt, to go back to give me money and to have to take care of me. So I started looking for jobs, for like any job, and basically I ended up like in a call center. That is like one of the most popular jobs that you can find in Honduras right now. And the pay was bad. It was really bad. I think it was something like 10,000 NTs or 11,000 NTs per month. Uh, and it was nothing that I studied for. It was not the law degree that I got. It had nothing to do with it. But even then, like, I think that wherever you do, whenever it is that you're doing it, you have to try to be the best that you can. You always have to give your best, because it's not about the job that you're doing or where you're doing it. It's about you. It's about who you are as a professional. It's about who you are as a person and who you want other people to think of when they think of you and when they hear your name. So these are some of the pictures when I was in the job. Don't get me wrong, I hated that job. I hated every second of it. Most of my days was just being yelled at by people from Texas that didn't want to pay their bill or something like that. But even then, like I worked really hard at it, and actually like some of the pictures that I chose, this was because those are like certificates, like quality certificates of being like the best agent of the month or stuff like that. And until the last day that I was in that job, I was one of the best agents, if not the best, that the whole site had, and we were like 1,500 of us. But I always wanted that, not because I was gonna keep doing that later or because it was gonna make any difference, but it was because of me. It was because of who I was. Because like I think that I'm a winner, and if you're a winner, you have to win at whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's something that you're enjoying or not. At that moment, just do your best. Just be the best that you can be. And basically, I stay in this call center. I think it was like almost like a year and a half. Uh, and even thought that I was one of the best agents that we had. They didn't want to promote me because I was a lawyer and I knew the law. So whenever they told us things like, "Oh, you have to work 10 days in a row," I was like, "No, that's illegal. What the labor law says is that you have to work like 6 days and then you need a break." And I would start quoting like the law. So the people, my bosses didn't like it. They thought that I was gonna create like a union or something. But I wasn't doing that. It's just like, I mean, you have to be the best that you can be, but also you're not gonna let people, stamp over you or violate your rights. That's not the kind of person that I am. I wouldn't do that to others. I'm not gonna let others do that to me. So that basically blocked me from getting promoted in this job. So I just stayed picking calls during the whole time that I was there. And at some moment when I was trying to apply for a promotion in the HR department, and the company basically blocked it for no reason. Like they didn't really have a reason to do it, but they just didn't let me apply. So at that moment, I realized, okay, I'm not gonna grow in this company, and that's the moment when I started like thinking to get out of Honduras, because I was so frustrated by the lack of opportunities. Because it's not that I was like just going there and like working and not doing and that's it. No, I was sending like I don't know how many curriculums to many different companies, to many different places, and I wasn't getting like replies. I wasn't getting calls. I wasn't getting interviews. So it comes to a point where you just become so disappointed that you think that you're not gonna make it. And at that moment, it was when I decided that that it was time to start looking for scholarships. And at the beginning, I thought that I was never gonna get one because we have this conception that scholarships are only for people that have like 90% GPA, like A plus, or for people that has connections with the government, or only for outstanding people. But I was so fed up with my situation that I just started trying, and that's how I ended up like getting this like Taiwan ICDF scholarship, which until the moment that I was in the plane, I was still waiting for somebody to come and tell me that it was a mistake and that no, it's not you, it's somebody else. Like you're not going to Taiwan, and the whole process was very stressing because even though that they had already told me and sent me emails saying that I was in, I still could not believe it. So until the moment that I was like actually here, that I landed in Taiwan, that's when I started thinking like, oh wow, this is real. And these are some of the pictures of what it was like my life here in Taiwan. This is one of the first things that I saw. It was like like the welcome sign, like "Welcome to Taiwan" with that name that I couldn't understand. And basically, immediately since I got here, I tried to start adapting to the culture. I tried trying as many food as possible. Some of it was delicious, some of it was horrible. And I started noticing the differences between our countries, which can be huge. Like the main thing that I noticed is like how safe your country is. And this is something that you guys probably take it for granted because you live here and maybe you haven't been in one of those countries. But Taiwan is like super safe. When I saw that people was texting on their phones in the bus, I couldn't believe it. Because if you do that in Honduras, you're gonna get robbed. Somebody's gonna take a gun and is gonna tell you, "Give me your phone," and they're gonna take your phone. And if you say no, they might kill you. And I was just like looking at everyone, and I was just like, aren't they afraid that somebody's gonna rob them? That's what I was thinking in my head. Like, aren't they afraid that somebody's gonna come with a gun and take their phones away? And then I started like asking people and what is the most dangerous place in Taiwan? I mean in Taipei. Like what is the most dangerous neighborhood? I wanna go and I wanna see it. Because in Honduras we have places that we don't even go into those places. There are places in Honduras that you just don't go because they're too dangerous and you can get killed very easily if you go to that place. And I started asking and people were like, there's not a place like that here. And like I thought it was crazy that people can walk like at 3 a.m. You cannot do that. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, you cannot do that in Honduras. Those are things that you just don't do. So, I remember that when I got here, my first week, I was like, my plan was, okay, I came here, I'm gonna graduate my 2 years, and then I'm gonna come back to Honduras, and then I'm just gonna stay there. But like after 2 weeks in Taiwan, I was like, there's no way that I'm going back to that, because I felt so safe here, and like the comparison between like what we were living there and like what we live here is shocking. It's truly shocking. Like, I think that probably I have almost been killed 3 times in Honduras, and once it was like really really close, like really really close. Actually, it was kind of my fault because like I was so angry that I tried to take the gun away from the guy, and it was very lucky. I would say that it was very lucky because he tried to make a shot to the air. I thought the gun was fake, so I reached for the gun, and then like, we kind of like started struggling, and I started like trying to choke him. And while we were doing that, he actually shot, and luckily he didn't get me. But like, of course, I had the gun in my hand, so it got really hot, so I just let go. And I remember that when when he looked at me, right after that, I was 100% sure that he was gonna kill me. And I was like with some of my friends, but they just stand still because, of course, what are you gonna do? And basically, I just kneeled, and I just opened my arms, and I put my head down, because I thought that if he was going to kill me, I wanted him to only kill me, so that he wouldn't kill my friends because of what I did. And again, like, it was pretty lucky because like he just hit me with the gun, and like when he hit me with the gun, I fell to the floor, and I just pretended to pass out. I pretended to faint, and then he started like kicking me and like threatening me, like, do you want me to kill you? And like all the time, I didn't really faint it. I was awake, but I knew that if I turned around, he was gonna shoot me. So I just stayed there on the floor, like just pretending that that he had knocked me out until they left. And then my friends came, and like some of them thought that I had actually got shot, and one of them started kind of crying like, "Oh, you cannot be dead." And then I was just like, I got up and I was like, "No, he didn't get me." And then we just walked home like nothing happened. And I'm not the only one who got into that kind of situation. That was probably the most dangerous one, but it was not the only first time. It was not the first time, and I'm telling you this just because like I want you to understand that like sometimes like I know that it's like when you don't live it, it's really hard to imagine it. I had some people telling me that probably I was making this up, or that I saw it in a movie, but it's not. It's the reality that Hondurans face every day. And I know that sometimes people think like, oh, Taiwan could be better, this is bad about Taiwan. But coming from where I come from, and like experiencing some of those things, you guys have it so much easier. And I'm not saying this as a kind of like, like I'm not, this is not something that like that you should feel guilty about. No, it's not like that. What you should do is like be grateful for that, and actually try to make more of your time. Try to make more with this, opportunity, with this lifestyle, with this so safe lifestyle that you're given. And think a bit more. I know that it's hard to imagine it, because unless you meet someone who has lived through it and tells you about it, you don't even think that this is real. But it's very important for you to know that this is real, and that like there are things that you can do to change it, even if you're very far away. So yeah, like as you can see, like I joined a soccer team almost immediately after I came. Actually, one of my complaints was that Taiwan doesn't play enough soccer because when I was in Honduras, I would play like 3 soccer games per day when I was in college. And then I came here and I was like, okay, so who plays football? And everyone was like, plays what? And then they were inviting me to play like basketball, to play baseball, and I was like, no, I want football. Like, and it was like, it was kind of like shocking as well because I thought that it was kind of like Japan, that Japan also has like a soccer culture, but you guys don't. And I was like very, very disappointed. I was like, oh my god. And I started playing like for my university team, and then I almost joined a first division team, but before that happened, like I broke my leg. I was training. It was a training game before World Cup Taiwan. It was called Copa America Taiwan, which means American Cup because it was only for Latin American teams. And 1 week before my first time playing it, I broke my leg, and it was very unlucky. And I still went like on a wheelchair, to support my team. That year we made it to the final. We didn't win, and it was just before I started an internship in a company called Universal Scientific Industrial. This is a company that is located here in Nantou. So I actually been here to Taichung before because I had to go there like basically every week, and then I will come here maybe like on the weekends because there's nothing in Nantou. So I was doing that internship for almost like a year, and again, like try to take advantage of opportunities. We received this note that they were looking for someone to do the internship. I was living in Taipei. This was in Nantou. And when I asked everyone about Nantou, people told me there's nothing in Nantou. Like you're gonna get super bored. But still, like I was like, this is a great opportunity. This is an international company. I have to do it. So I just went for it. And I actually became like, I was good. I was doing a good job with them. But almost at the end, they started telling me that they want to hire me, but they wanted to send me to Mexico. And I was like, no. I mean, I already got out of Honduras. Like, I don't want to go back to Latin America. So I didn't end up taking it. And then like in 2017, like I graduated. This is a picture of like my graduation with my Taiwanese classmates. And I don't know like how many international students are in Providence, but on behalf of all of them, talk to them and try to become their friends. Because like something that happened in my program a lot is that the foreigners were sitting on this side and the Taiwanese were sitting on that side. And it didn't matter how much I tried to put them together or organize like parties or invited them to drink alcohol. At the end of the day, that separation will always go back, and like then you will see Taiwanese on one side and like foreign on the other side. And that sucks. So try to become friends with us. Like we're cool, like we're fun. I cannot speak for all foreigners, but like in general, like we're like you can learn things from us, and I'm pretty sure that we can learn things from you. So it's all about like bringing cultures together, and I think that like if you're in a university that offers you that opportunity, you should take it. Now I'm gonna talk about a little bit about that India trip that I mentioned before, because well, this was something that really changed my life in many ways. I mean, I don't know. Basically, I don't know if I still am. I try not to be, but before I used to be very cocky, like super cocky, and I would think that I was like the smartest, the greatest, the strongest. Like I was kind of an idiot, and I used to brag a lot about the things that I knew or about the things that I did. And when I went to this trip in India in 2016, I had just become a member of the Honduran Association in Taiwan, which is basically a bunch of students. We sell food, and we use the money to make donations. We have fed like people like around main station in Taipei because there's a lot of homeless there, or we send money back home like for some charities. But when I applied for this trip and I went for this trip, the truth is that I didn't do it for the right reasons. I don't think I did because my main reason was to brag. My main reason was to get cool pictures in India, put them on Facebook, and get a lot of likes. that was my main reason. Yeah, there was like I wanted to learn. I also thought that I was like very smart, and I wanted to see if I was smarter than everyone else in that room. I wanted to be in a room full with international youth leaders and show them that I was smarter than them. And what happened was that on the first day or the first 2 days, that's exactly what happened. I started like debating politics, abortion. I started debating veganism. I started debating civil rights, democracy. I started talking to anyone who was willing to debate me. And I had at times like group of like 10 people around me just talking to me, asking my opinion about many things. And I felt so full of myself. My chest was like, like I was feeling, I don't know, like the greatest person on earth. And I remember that the first night I called my aunt and I was just bragging and bragging and bragging about all of this. And then on the second day, we started, each of us had to do a speech. Each of us had to basically come up with like a proposal of something that we were doing back home, or an idea that we have to solve a problem, or talk about a personal experience that we had. And that is when like I got destroyed. I got emotionally destroyed because like all of these people started telling stories that were so incredibly sad. There was people there like from Iraq, and I remember that when he started his presentation, he had a picture filled with people, like his whole family. And at the end of the presentation, like he had the same picture but with all the people that died grayed out, all the people that were killed by Taliban because they invaded his city. So even him, who was a master's student at the time, he had to take an AK-47 and he had to start shooting back. There was a story about this guy from Nepal that in an earthquake in 2014 they had to went into buildings like elementary schools to take the children out, and they have to run over corpses because it was like such a terrible earthquake that so many people died. We had a guy from Yemen that was telling us that because of the war, which is still going on after so many years, they were cutting children open and taking their organs out, and then they will just leave the kids to die in the streets. And every story, like I could go on all day, every story that I heard, it was worse than the previous one. And like, it made me really feel like the worst person on earth, because I realized that many of the people that were there were actually going there because they wanted to make a change in the world. And my reason was I wanted cool pictures for Facebook. And in that trip, I met this girl. Her name is Mursal. She's from Afghanistan. She also had like a super sad story. Basically, she had to run away when the Taliban took over. Her sister ended up in one country. She ended up in another country. Her parents disappeared for a couple of years. She was a refugee. And she's one of the most brightest, smartest persons that I have ever met. I spoke for hours. During those 5 days, I spoke hours and hours with her. And I have met very few people that I can think that are as smart as she is. And that, she just went through so much. And I learned so many things like from this trip, like things that I'm never gonna forget. Like there was when we were talking with her, she told me jokingly that she was gonna invite me to Afghanistan. And I told her, no, I'm not gonna go to Afghanistan. They could kill me, it's too dangerous. And she told me, did you know that more people die in Honduras every day than they do in Afghanistan? And you guys are not at war. And when she said that, my first instinct was like, no, that's not true. And then I went to Google and I realized that it was true. Even with the war, there were more people being killed in Honduras every day than there were in Afghanistan. And I was just shocked. And she started giving me like this lecture that she said that that she thought that, because like my face was like, I couldn't believe it, right? I couldn't believe, how is it possible that there are more dead people in Honduras, violent deaths in Honduras per day, than in Afghanistan, which is in a country which is at war. And you know, like I just couldn't wrap it around my head. And then she started telling me like that she thought that for us it would be easier to fix the situation, because in her case what they had was a superpower invading them for their resources and creating chaos and war. But in Honduras we just had a problem of culture, of Hondurans killing Hondurans. Nobody's killing us, and we don't have plagues, we don't have like catastrophes, we don't have war. And when she said that, like it really stuck to me, like it really did, like, and you know, I started thinking, she's right, this is cultural, this is something that can be changed. And this is one of the reasons why I started getting so involved in like the scholarship for Hondurans and other projects that involve education. Because I think that we have a problem of, our main problem is education. And I always say that Taiwan inspires me in that way, because Taiwan is a country that doesn't have that much resources. Compared to Honduras, for example, you don't. And basically you're like 3 times smaller than Honduras. And what you guys did, from what I've seen, is that you put so much efforts into education and healthcare. You have like over 100 universities, many of them in the 500 like top universities. And then you created like, you know, business and industries and technology. And that's why you're so good at it, because like you worry about your people. Yes, nothing is perfect. Like there's no perfect system. There's no one in any country that will tell you that they absolutely love the way that their country works. But Taiwan for me is an example, and it's something that I wish that Honduras becomes one day. I wish that we can imitate you. I wish that we can start worrying about keeping our people safe, keeping our people healthy, and keeping our people as educated as Taiwan does. And like I said, like this trip for me, it was like eye-opening. There were many one-on-one stories that I can mention. Like there was another case of a guy from Egypt. He was giving his presentation. He was talking about how they were like building, the government was building some housing, like social housing, like projects with private companies. And I remember that I asked him, and this is another lesson that I would like to give you guys. I asked him, like, it all sounds very pretty, but for example in Honduras, corruption is terrible. The government corruption that we have is off the charts. I don't know if you know this, but like the brother of the president, the previous president of Honduras, is in jail for drug dealing. And the president has just been indicted and is being asked by the United States for drug dealing as well. So our president is going to go to New York to face a trial, most likely, for being a drug dealer. That's the level of corruption in my country. And I told him, like, how can you guys like do this? Like, how can you guys fix the corruption in your country? Because I know that Egypt has also had a history of corruption. And in that trip, like, many people couldn't pronounce my name. So they will just call me Mr. Honduras. So the guy looked at me and he said, Mr. Honduras, corruption is still a problem in Egypt. And it will keep being a problem, you know, for years to come. But to eliminate corruption from a country, first you have to eliminate corruption from within yourself. And when he said that, again, like it just shook me. It just made me like, wow, because how many times have you like, you know, copy homework? Or in Honduras, how many times have you paid a cop so that they don't give you a ticket when you're driving? I have done it. How many times, you know, you have done things that you're not supposed to do because it's easier to do them? And all of that is corruption. And the thing with corruption is that once that you do it small, you think, oh, this is nothing. Like, this is like just one small thing. If you keep doing it and doing it, it becomes a pattern and it becomes the norm. And then if you get to a position of power, you can be 100% sure that you're gonna keep doing corrupted things as well. So that's also another lesson that I got from this trip, that it was just like, it's just like it changed my life. And there were so many things in this trip, like, that changed my life. And it also kind of like made me break about a lot of stereotypes. Cause, and I'm not, like, I'm not afraid to say it, but like, we all have a little bit of like racism within us. There's biases. And I remember that when I was going into that India trip and I saw all the people with the beards and, like the Sikhs wearing like the things on their heads, I started thinking about like, like the terrorists and the things that you hear on the news. But they're just normal people, following like their traditions and their culture. But I was so brainwashed by everything that happened, after 9/11, that I was afraid on that plane. I was afraid on that plane going to India, thinking that someone might explode a bomb. And then like I started talking to those people in that conference. Many people of like, one of them worked for NASA. And like I just realized like how wrong I was. And like there were many things. That's what I'm saying, that this trip really destroyed me, because it made me analyze myself into a mirror and realize that I was also a racist. And that there were many things, misconceptions, biases that I had to break away from. And that, there many of them were not necessarily my fault, because those are things that you learn, but you can also unlearn those things. So, coming back to my advice, if you have foreign friends, go and talk to them. Ask them how is their country doing. Ask them what are the problems that they have. And you're going to learn a lot. And it will also make you connect more. Because having a funny foreign classmate that tells jokes and that is a good dancer and it's a good sportsman doesn't mean that you connected with him and his culture. So it's a good idea to ask about those things, What's your traditions? What is like your food like? What are the problems in your country? That's a question that I like to ask other people, And when they start telling you, you feel sad and you feel empathy. And then when you hear news about, and this is something that happens to me, like before, whenever I heard like, oh, there was like so many people dead in Afghanistan, we become so used to death. The world has become so used to death that when you hear these stories, they don't mean anything to you. They're just numbers. They're just statistics. They're just like a number in an article. But when you meet people from these countries, when I met her from Afghanistan, you can be sure that every time that I heard that there was an explosion in Afghanistan, I will be very, very scared, and I will feel very, very sad, thinking that it might have happened to her. These tragedies now have faces for me. And that also changed me, because like I started realizing that the change cannot be only to do something positive for your country. You try to help as much people as possible, whatever they are. So, sorry, I went too deep into that one, but like I also, that's kind of like what I think that is very important to travel. It's very important to meet other people. And like I picked some pictures of things that are very representative to me. The first one is in the Philippines. I was there like, it was my first trip, like, outside Taiwan. Because actually, when I was in Honduras, I didn't really like to travel. I rather to save money to go to party or to buy like, an expensive cell phone, stuff like that. I wasn't much about like tourism. But then when I went to this trip in the Philippines, I was shocked, because I heard in a bus, like we were going in a bus to the beach, and then this girl started saying like maíz, chicharrón. These words mean corn and like pork skin in Spanish. And then I was just like, what? And I just looked and I was like, what are you selling? And then she said it to me. And I was like, is this really chicharrón? And she was like, yeah. And I bought it and I tried it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the same food that we eat back home. Like, and it has the same name. And I was like, how come you call it like that? And then somebody was there, started explaining me that Philippines was a Spanish colony. So they have many words that come from Spain, and maize was also brought from Spain, and they also have a lot of churches. I had no idea that Christianism was the thing in Asia, that there were people that believe in the same God that my family believes back home, so many thousands of miles away. And I was just completely shocked. And then I just started asking and more about like their story, like their culture, and it became kind of an addiction. And actually, the reason why I like to travel so much right now is just to learn about those countries. And I don't only go to the touristic places. I hire a tour guide, and I ask him to take me to like the most symbolic places and to tell me about their story, because that's how you connect with their culture, actually, with their history. And I think that that's very important. The second one is like, this one doesn't have such a deep history. It's just something that made me really, really happy. Because like I said, since I was a kid, I always loved Japanese animation. And this is in the Tokyo Tower. And I don't know if you guys know that show. It's One Piece. It's like about a pirate. And like I've been seeing it since I was like very young. And just being able to go there and being to this exhibition and you know, like being in Japan, it just made me really happy. And I think that I probably also cried like 2 or 3 times there, because I just couldn't understand what I have ever done that it was so good, so that I deserve to be so happy. Because like really, like being in Japan was like probably one of the happiest moments in my life, because it's something that I always dream of, and that I really never thought that I could do it, but I did. The third one actually is kind of related to it. This is in Hong Kong, and that area is called Kulon. And the reason why I picked this picture is because like also from anime, from Japanese animation. When I was a kid, I watched this show that is called Black Blood Brothers. And in this show, like they talk a lot about this city that it was called Kulon. And I just thought that it was like a made up name. I never really thought beyond that. And then when I was in Hong Kong and I was looking at my map and I saw the same name, I was like, what is happening here? Like, what? And then I went back to check the story of the animation, and it turns out that the animation happened in this area. So at that moment, it was also like, kind of like, also like very like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know, like you just feel that something amazing had just happened to you. Because I was standing in a place that I didn't even know that it was real, of a show that I really, really like. And me, like, you know, that little kid that whose family comes from the countryside where there was no electricity until, you know, until they were adults, now was in the other side of the world in this amazing city, in this fantastic place. And the last one, I think I really wanted to show you this one, and I think that you're gonna like it. This was in Thailand. I don't know if you know that there's this tribe in Thailand that they put rings around their necks to make them longer. And like the more that they grow, the longer their necks become. Actually, the way that they do it is that it's actually not that the neck becomes longer. It's just that the rings are so heavy that it starts pushing their shoulders down. So, I mean, like that's not really like the most amazing part of the story. The most amazing part of the story is that in there I met this girl whose name is Mary. I think she was like at 11 at the time. And when we met her, when we saw her, she started speaking to me in Spanish. And I was just like, what? I was like, in Thailand, nobody else probably in Thailand that I had met, like, you know, like from the locals could speak Spanish. And this little girl from a tribe that doesn't allow girls to study. Girls cannot study there, only the kids. They have to stay home and do chores and like have babies, and that's all that they can do. And this girl was speaking to me in Spanish, and then she turned to the girl that I was with, Taiwanese girl, and she started to speaking to her in Chinese. And then she started speaking English, and then she started speaking Italian. And everyone who was there was just like, I mean, I cannot say the word, but like, what is happening here? And like, I started asking her, like, you know, like, how can you speak like so many languages? And she said, I just hear the tourist and I learn the words. And I took a video that I hope that I can play, because this was like, Can we like raise the volume, or like should I put the microphone here? Because you have to hear this. Like this was like amazing. No, I don't think. Can you guys hear?
Microphone over there.
Sorry. Is there a way to like music?
什么？我刚可能写的，我听他们说的，我写，但是他们买东西啊，他们要走了，我们走了再见。他跟我说这样子，这我就听。真的啦。
所以 también aprendiste español
Sí.
así.
Todo con los turistas.
Todos con
Yo
los turistas.
escuchando turistas habla para yo. We don't understand. I do like this, I can understand.
¿Y cuántos años tienes?
14.
14.
Sí.
Pero
¿Y tú?
no has estudiado en la escuela español,
No.
pero lo hablas muy
Habla.
bien.
Sí, poquito.
And you can also speak English.
A little bit.
But how all of that by tourists? That's amazing. Like you are really amazing.
And then you.
No, I have gone to schools, like a lot of schools. Like I mean, wow.
Just a little bit.
No, that's you speak a lot.
Oh, thank you.
I think yours is better than his English.
¿De verdad, tu amiga?
Mi amigo, sí. Tu inglés es mejor que el de él.
Sí.
No.
Sí.
¿Por qué tu español y inglés es muy tocado?
Muy tutogado, like parecido.
Like the same.
Ah,
But I know Spanish. Just 但是我看那
are you
个
filming?
Sabes más español que yo inglés.
no, todo poquito.
Todos los idiomas un poquito.
Sí,
¿Italiano también?
sí,
¿Qué sabes en italiano?
todo con lo turista.
Con el turista. Turista es turista.
Turista, español, turisti, italiano.
Wow. You are amazing. You're amazing. You're really smart.
Gracias.
I am very surprised.
No,
Muy sorprendido.
Ah,
Eres
gracias.
muy inteligente.
tú también. ¿Y tu amiga?
Mi amiga
ya.
es inteligente también.
¿Tú también Argentina?
No, yo soy de Honduras.
¿Qué? Indonesia.
No, está muy lejos, es muy lejos. Él es de España.
No,
España.
no. Sí,
Barcelona.
sí, Barcelona. Sí. No, Argentina.
No, no Argentina. Bueno, mucho gusto. Te quiero dar
gusto.
por el video.
Mucho gusto, René.
¿Cuál es tu nombre de nuevo?
Mary,
Mary. Muy inteligente, Mary. Eres muy bonita.
tú también
Very
bonito.
pretty. Mi gente habla.
Dani.
Denny. Denny, tu prima, nombre.
Yeah.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto, encantado.
Me encanta. 谢谢你，
Shishini.
感谢谢谢你。
So yeah, one correction. She's 14. She was 14 at that time. But yeah, like that day I went back home and my face was just like this all the time. Like, what did I just saw? And like like she was switching languages and like just talking like very fluently. I was like amazed. And like, and I started like asking, like, is there any way that we can send her to school? Is there any way? And they just said that basically it's forbidden because like this tribe that they have, like kids, like girls cannot study. And I thought that it was like such a waste, but I also felt very happy because I saw something that I think it's incredible. I honestly, like, to this day, I'm still shocked by what I saw that day and by her. And that's why I think it's important, like I said, to go and travel, because like you're gonna see things that you never expected to see, and I can guarantee you that it's gonna change you. Well, now I'm gonna enter into the final part, which is kind of like the reason why I was brought here. I wanted to talk to you like a little bit more about the World Cup Taiwan. So basically, like I mentioned before, this is a soccer tournament. This is the main objective of this competition, but it's a lot more to me. The reason why, like so many people ask me, why do I organize this tournament? Because don't get me wrong, this is probably one of the most stressful things that I have ever done. And you have to deal with so many people, and you have to fight with so many, the teams, the captains, everyone has complaints, the vendors. It's really not easy. Organizing events is not an easy task. And people enjoy it a lot, of course. Like usually we have very good results at the end. And they always ask me why is the reason that you organize this event? And I mean, there are many, but the main reason why I decided to organize it in the first place is because when I came here in 2015, and when I told you that I broke my leg, right, in 2016, I had already been here for a couple of months, and I just felt alone. I had one or two Honduran friends that came with me, but you go to separate universities, you don't see them so often, and then you have classmates, but somehow they're different. And this tournament, it was the first time that I was surrounded by so many Hondurans. And we were speaking our language, we were dancing together, we were making our jokes because I don't know if you know this, but even in Spanish, each country uses different words for different things. So if you have a guy from Spain and a guy from Honduras, maybe they won't understand everything that they're saying, and especially if they're joking, the jokes are completely different. So this was the first time that I felt like I was at home, and they were selling Honduran food as well, and it just made me feel, that even thought I was thousands of miles away from my family and friends. This event gave me a little bit, a little piece of my home, and well, I also love soccer. I always combine because this is the 2020. That's the soccer team that we had. Because I was in this one, I'm a soccer player, and I have to train like them, and I have to, run a lot in the field if I want to play. But and in the other one, it's with the organizing team, which is the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association. I don't know if you have heard from them. If you haven't, this is basically an association that is trying to build stronger ties between Taiwan and the rest of the world. And they have a lot of volunteers, 100 volunteers, and they turned this event, which was before it was relatively small. I became the main organizer in 2019, and I made it very good. I mean, I feel proud to say that. But in 2020, when they got in, they made it grow so much. And we had 4,000 visitors, and we even that was the first time that we hired a camera to record the games, and they brought so many people in, and I remember that I was in my office, and then I got this tag on Facebook from Tsai Ing-wen's Facebook page tagging us, talking about us, and I just what is this? And I read it, and then I just this is crazy. And then I just started what? And I even screamed in my office, very loud, and people was just looking at me. And I had to go out and start calling on the phone, and I started getting calls from the Ministry of Defense, the new Taipei city government, a general that said that he wanted to fly jets over the stadium on the day of the inauguration. And I was oh my God, what is happening? This is insane. And they are the ones that make it grow, that make it grow so big. So I'm very, very thankful for them, and it also shows I mean, probably you cannot see it, but that's me, and this is Chayo Kuo, and this is Joy Hu, which are the main leaders in that association. And after this is we did it for 2 years already, and we realized a couple of things. One of them is that, I mentioned before, this event has the potential of uniting communities like no other event in Taiwan does, because you have no idea how much these communities organize to participate. The male teams, the female teams, they come together, they train together, they buy uniforms. They start organizing, if they have people from Kaohsiung or from Taichung, how are they gonna bring them here? They start it begins months before. The events is just 2 days. But I can tell you that my soccer team is already asking me when are we going to start practicing, and if we're going to have an event, and it's the same for all of them. And you know, many of these, for the ones that have like diplomatic relationship with Taiwan, it's like a way to bring them together. But for communities of countries like Italy joined the first time last year. They didn't even know that they had so many Italians, and they started meeting each other. And some of them had never met, have never seen, and then they created this community, and now they go out together and they do Italian stuff together. At the UK, the United Kingdom, we allowed them to put a team together like in 2019, and now they became a family. And many of them met the same day of the competition. And they make posts on Facebook like, hey, are there any people from the UK here that wants to join this competition? And then out of nowhere, like, oh, me, you know, and oh, where are you from? And they start like creating these like groups, you know, and uniting. Because it's really special to have a group of people from your country when you're so far away. And I feel like this event has given them this opportunity. That's why, even though we cannot have everyone because we only have 2 days, so some teams have to be left out. But like for the ones that are there, I try to create like this environment, you know. And you pass by their tent and you hear them that they're speaking their language and that they're laughing and you have no idea what's going on there, but you know that they're happy. And that's like, you know, for me that's one of the reasons why I continue to do it, even though sometimes I'm so stressed that I wish that I never got involved. And basically the other thing that we try to do is like this shows what we can do when we work together, because these two girls are Taiwanese. I'm from Honduras. We have so different values, you know, and so different education, so different experiences, but we came together and we created this monster of event that is beautiful and that people love, and that you know, like that everyone wants to be a part of it. And that's just show you what you can do when you know, come together with people from different cultures. You can create very special things. And of course, the final mission that we have with this is because, like I said, I'm very thankful to Taiwan. So I try to give it a little bit back. And this is my way of giving back. Because, like, I don't know if you know this, but last year it was the first time that we broadcast this tournament in TV. And it was broadcast in Honduras, it was broadcasted in Paraguay, it was through internet, it was in Mexico, it was in the United States, it was in Taiwan. And you know, like, you go to Facebook and you see the comments, and it's crazy, and it's like a guy from the UK saying, my dad almost had a heart attack watching your penalties. They're so far away, but they're here, you know, they're connected, like they're watching you. And my aunt told me, like, you know, last year, like, oh, I was watching your speech, I you know, like, I just cry, like, they're so far away, but they're with me. And then this is like, you know, a small chance of like getting people closer to their relatives, and also to show Taiwan to the world. Because it's very important that people know, you know, that first of all, this is not China, and that, you know, like that there are very, very good activities happening here, and that you guys are a free society, and that you guys have fun, and that we have fun with you. And well, this is also a tribute for some of the people that I've lost. The two guys that you can see in these pictures were friends of mine. Both of them got killed for stupid things. One of them died because they tried to take his car away, and he didn't want him to kidnap his girlfriend, so he tried to run. And they just shot him. And they threw him away from the car, and they took the car. And the other car is even more stupid because he got into a car accident coming from a soccer game, and the guy that he crashed, like, was drunk, and he followed him and shot him in the back, and he died trying to get to the hospital. Before, like I mentioned that I wasn't a perfect student, I wasn't a great student, and I got into a lot of trouble. And these two guys never did. These two guys were the kind of guys that will run away from the fight or that will try to stop the fight. And sometimes I really wonder, like, why them and not me? Because they were like really, really like genuinely nice people, and they were fun and they were young. And the last one is Doña Lisette, who was like a mother to me, and she passed away last year. And when you decide to set your life abroad, when you decide to establish in another country, many good things happen. I don't regret my decision, and probably I know that I'm not going back to Honduras anytime soon. But you miss so many things. I had promised her that when we went back, we were gonna celebrate all the good things that happened to me, and that she was gonna cook for me. And now she's gone. And I know that while I'm here or whatever it is that I go, like, I'm gonna keep losing relatives and I'm gonna keep losing friends. So it's not an easy decision. But I also know that is the right one, because in here I have the opportunity of helping so many people that if I would have stayed in Honduras, I would have never had that chance. So even when it pains me, and it was like, horrible to find out about like their deaths being so far away and not even be able to see them one last time, I know that I made the right choice. And I will always carry them with me, and they are my motivation to keep trying to help others and to keep trying to do good things that will make them proud, and things that probably they would have done if they were still alive. So the message is like to try to make a positive change in the world, because a lot of times people think that you need a lot to make a change, that you need to be rich, that you need to be, that you need to have like a giant company. It's not like that. Many times, like a small donation, talking to someone in need, gathering together, and just putting resources, ideas to help others, it can make a change. It can make a change. And in Taiwan has people that need help too. And I'm not talking about foreign students, because like only that. Like, I'm talking about homeless people. I'm talking about caregivers. I'm talking about migrant workers. Taiwan has a lot of groups in need that that can be helped. And if after this speech, like, one of you decides that wants to help them, that for me is like I already can call that a success. I want to give you like some kind of like I was asked to give like a little bit of like what are my plans for the future. So basically, like, the first one is we're trying to gather the funds to continue to organize the World Cup Taiwan, because last year wasn't easy because of the pandemic, and if it wasn't because like the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association actually spent some of their money, we wouldn't have an event. And we're trying to see if this year like we can have it, because like we all agree that it's an amazing event, and of course we want to have it, but like the first thing is trying to get like the money to do it so that we don't have to cancel it. I'm working on expanding this scholarship for Hondurans projects, and I want to launch a website so that it's easier for people in Honduras, like students, to find the resources, because like we have like basically for all levels, we have like scholarships for like high school, undergraduate, master, PhD, like research. We have like a lot of information. We have more than 200 scholarships there, so I'm just trying to put a website together where people can find it in an easier way. and more Hondurans can have like the opportunity that I got, which was to come to study in a great country, in a safe country, and make good things. I also want to study something that is related to diplomacy and politics, because like I mentioned before, I really like that. I'm really interested in it, and I haven't. And this is kind of like a big plan that I have, which is basically like, I feel like my life's goal is to build apartment buildings for students in Honduras. Because like one of the main reasons why poor people, low income people cannot study in Honduras is because we only have very few universities and they're in the main cities. People with low income people cannot come to the city and study. They cannot afford the rent. So my idea is to build apartments in which they will live for free as long as they get a scholarship in the university, and it will be like a scholarship for living, right? Like I plan to do that. I hope that I can have like 3 or 4, and if I can do that, I can die happy, because like I know that there's a lot of talent in the countryside, and there are many people that cannot pursue an education, because this what you have right now, like being in this room, like in this university, it seems normal, but for many people in many places it's not. And I would like it, to be more normal for the people in my country, because my family comes from the countryside. They were lucky to graduate. They were lucky, some of them, not even all of them, to graduate and to pursue like a university education. But I know that there's a lot of people that is not able to get it right now, and I think that the main reason is because they cannot afford to live in the city to study in a university, even if it's a public university. So kind of like the big project, like something that I hope that it doesn't take me 10 years to do, is building apartment buildings, so that students that they have good grades and that can secure scholarships in universities, or that can afford university, then they don't have to worry about what is it going to cost them to move to the city and live there. They can just worry about preparing themselves to get a better future, and to help their families as well. And I'm gonna give you some life advices. Not that you're asking for them, but like I will strongly suggest you to go study abroad or travel to see the world, because like I mentioned, like I have learned so much from it, and I know that you will too. And every trip that I made has left me something, has made me think about something, has taught me something. So I would suggest you to do it too. Try to interact with as much people from different cultures, backgrounds, and people, especially people who think different than you. Because like right now we live in this culture that people is always worried about who's being right or wrong, and always fighting about this or that. And one of the things that I try to focus more is like when I'm fighting with someone or when I disagree with someone, it's not so much about what they're saying, it's about trying to understand why they're saying it. Because just to give you an example, majority of people that don't like gay people, it's not that they don't like gay people, it's just that they were raised thinking that this goes against their religion. So for them, it's bad already. But when they meet gay people and they talk to gay people, they realize that gay people are fun and they're cool and they're just regular people. And sometimes by trying to understand that and not attacking the argument, but the reasoning behind it, can help you to change some people's minds. Try to help as many people as you can. Like I said, sometimes it takes a very small effort to make a very big change. Pursue your dreams, no matter how crazy they might seem, but do it with a plan. Because just jumping out there, like I wouldn't suggest it to anybody. Just like if you have a dream, start planning. How am I going to achieve this? How am I going to get the resources that I need to do it? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to network with? And I have done a lot of things that I thought that were impossible to make, and I keep doing them. And many of the times, the reason why I'm able to do it is because I am not afraid of asking for help. sometimes people will just say yes, even if it's famous people. Yesterday, I wrote to a Facebook page in Honduras that has like almost 1 million followers, and I asked them, can you share the information about this Facebook page, Scholarship for Honduras? Because like we want to give this opportunity to more people. They immediately asked me for information. They wrote an article and they posted in all of their social media. I just had to ask. And they said yes. So don't be afraid of asking for help, no matter to who. The worst thing that can happen is that they say no. That's the worst. And if you don't ask them, it's the same as if they said no. So ask, you might get a yes. And follow the Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association and the World Cup Taiwan Facebook page, because of course I have to do advertising for it. And this is their website, in case that you don't know it. They do a lot of great things. They do especially things that have involved foreigners, or like the foreign community, embassies, representative offices. They do an amazing job. And of course, if you don't know about it and you want to follow it, this is like the World Cup Taiwan Facebook page. Like I said, we're still like defining whether we can get like the resources that we need to make it. If we do, we will probably have the tournament around October. And before I jump to Q&A, because I actually wanted to show you like the video. This is not the one last year. I want to show you the one in 2020 because last year we had the pandemic restrictions, so it couldn't be like an open event. But I want to show you what it would be like in case that you want to join, in case that we have it, if you want to come.
Amistad entre nuestros países y amistad con este hermoso país que nos acoge.
Actualmente, cuando el mundo vive bajo la amenaza de pandemia de COVID-19, Taiwán tiene la fortuna de poder realizar actividades sin verse demasiado afectado.
I hope today is also a new start for Taiwanese and Latinos to build trust and having our friendship forever.
The players are the ones who make these tournaments. Without you, there will be no Copa America.
Smooth butter, got me on a roll. Straight stunner, welcome to the show. No other, they already know. I just do what comes natural. All day, running up the clock. Fast pace, never gonna stop. Big change, see you at the top. I just do what comes natural.
So basically that's my presentation. Thank you all for coming and for listening to me talk for so long. And I don't know if you have any questions, but like if you do, then I will be happy to answer them.
给 Fernando 一个很大的掌声。